Aaron Nola's struggles this season go far beyond just a velocity dip. Let's talk about why he's struggling so much to begin the 2025 season right here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zulli here. And Aaron Nola last night had his record fall to 0-4 after a loss to the San Francisco Giants. It is the first time in his major league career that he's begun a year 0-4. He said himself it was the worst start by far of his career. He gave up 4 runs in the first inning, really struggled with control. In fact, he gave up 6 earned runs in total and gave up 7 if you count the unearned run over just 5 1/3 innings pitched. He has 4 of the Phillies' 8 losses so far this year, and his ERA has ballooned to 6.65 over the course of his first 4 starts. So what's going on with Aaron Nola that has made the start of his season so dreadful? Well, I think due in part, and in large part, in fact, it's because his location just hasn't been good. Let's take a look at yesterday's game against the Giants to give you an example of what I mean. Here's Aaron Nola's pitch map in the game against the Giants yesterday. Notice anything in particular about this pitch map here? 2 things jumped out to me. The first is his misses are uncompetitive. You see a couple of the knuckle curves down and in or down and away, depending on if it's to a righty or a lefty. They just are uncompetitive pitches that the Giants, more times than not, didn't offer at. And then there's a handful of pitches, especially with the fastball, that are either up and into a righty or up and into a lefty that, again, these are just uncompetitive pitches that really didn't have any kind of hope of being sought after and attacked in terms of the Giants hitters. And then the second thing that I notice is that there are a ton of pitches out over the heart of the plate. And why did this happen? I think it happened because Nola fell behind way too many hitters, not just yesterday, but over the course of the season. He's now walked 4 or more hitters in consecutive starts for the first time in his major league career. And last night, he walked a run-in. It's the second time this season that he's walked a run-in. He had only done it a handful of times over the bulk of his major league career. I think Nola's command really has just failed him, especially this season, but especially last night early in the game. So far this year, he's thrown just 59% of his pitches for first pitch strikes. That's on pace for the lowest in his career. He's never been below 60% throughout his career, and he hasn't been below 64% since the 2019 season. And because of this, first pitch swing against Nola is way down, almost 11%, in fact, because more times than not, when he's falling behind 1-0, those pitches haven't felt competitive. And I use that word a lot, competitive. And what I mean by that is, like, if it's not going to be a strike, outer edge is fine, upper edge is fine, a breaking ball that tumbles through the zone is fine. But the breaking ball in the dirt on the first pitch, the fastball that's up and away, or the fastball that's in on the fists, those pitches become uncompetitive, and hitters are just going to sit on them, and therefore you've got a count that's 1-0 very, very quickly. And for a guy that predicates his success on getting ahead and staying ahead, Nola certainly has not gotten ahead nearly enough this season. Now, I've always talked about Aaron Nola, about being a guy for when he misses, he tends to miss in the zone. He doesn't miss out and away. He doesn't miss in the dirt a lot. When he misses, he misses in the zone, and he either runs a 2-seamer back over the heart of the plate or hangs one of his knuckle curves. But specifically in this start against the Giants, again, his misses really just didn't feel like they had any life, and he really didn't have any command in this start, especially in the first inning. And this lack of command for Aaron Nola is where he gets into trouble, and that's where the fastball velocity dip does become a concern. I've said over the past, Aaron Nola is the type of starter who I think can withstand velocity dips. Everybody loses velocity as their careers progress. We watched Justin Verlander do it the other night. For a guy who used to routinely throw 97 or 98, really only hit 93, 94 for a majority of their start. Clayton Kershaw in his rehab start for the Dodgers only topped out at 89 the other day. Veterans lose velocity as their careers unfold. I always felt that Aaron Nola was the type of guy who could battle that and contest that and continue to make himself a viable starter because he throws a ton of strikes, he's comfortable in most counts, and he's comfortable throwing more of his pitches than not in most of those counts. But when he falls behind and he has to get back over the heart of the plate, that's where the fastball velocity dip becomes a problem. when he's throwing that fastball over the meat of the plate, he's throwing it into the nitro zones, as it likes to be called, that's where he starts to get hit and get hit hard. Through his first 4 starts of the season, 4 of the 9 quadrants within the strike zone, batters have hit at least 317 off of Aaron Nola. And in total, they're hitting 316 off of his fastball this year. He only has 3 strikeouts through his first 4 starts on his 4-seam fastball. And when Aaron Nola falls behind, the numbers tend to get worse and worse. And it's funny, the batting average doesn't. He actually has a better batting average against when he is behind an account than when he's ahead an account. But the 2 numbers to take a look at, the OBP skyrockets. Batters have a .455 on-base percentage when Aaron Nola falls behind an account, and their slugging percentage is over .870. And this is where his barrel percentage really takes a hit. His barrel percentage is on pace to be the worst of his career by nearly a full point. And that's due in part because he's falling behind in counts and then having to work back into the counts and throw too many pitches over the heart of the plate where hitters are taking advantage of them. So I think it's a natural progression for Aaron Nola. At least his struggles have had a natural progression, and they're pretty visible. It starts with not throwing strike one nearly enough. That 59% needs to get closer to his career number of about 66%. When he doesn't throw strike one, then he has to battle back in the count. Then he has to throw more strikes and more strikes over the heart of the plate. And that's where the fastball velocity does become a problem. So all of these things start to kind of trickle one to the next, and to show you as to why Aaron Nola has struggled for a bulk of his starts. He's made 4 starts this year, and I would really honestly say I only liked one of them. The National start was not a particularly good start. Last night against the Giants, I thought was his worst start, primarily because of the first inning, but he struggled later in the 5th and into the 6th as well. I thought his best start of the year was against the Cardinals. Now, he did walk 4, and his command wasn't perfect, but he was able to battle out of situations enough to keep the Phillies into the game. They didn't score any runs, therefore, he kind of suffered as a hard luck loser in that one. He had only given up 2 runs. But he wasn't perfect in that game either. I just thought it was the closest performance to being a good one so far in the 4 starts that he's made. But the natural progression of Aaron Nola's struggles is easy to see. Fall behind in the count, don't throw enough strikes, especially early in the count, have to use the fastball to get back into the count. Fastball velocity has dipped over the years. That's where he runs into trouble. And so for me, it seems like an easy fix, but it's easier said than done. Does Aaron Nola bounce back? I don't know. He's going to make another 26, 27, 28 starts, assuming he doesn't hit the injured list. That's just what Aaron Nola does. But I'm starting to get further and further and further away from the answer to that question being yes, and closer and closer and closer to the answer to that question being, I don't know, maybe. And that's a bad place to be when the tangible stuff, like the velocity, has taken a dip.